Hello guys, as you can see I'm back with some of my K-pop opinions. These opinions are kinda straightforward and they need to be said out loud, even if many people may not want to hear them, but it must be said. As usual, I'm gonna remind you that these are just opinions, not facts, so you're totally free to disagree. But now, with that being said, let's begin. Bae solo stans are part of the problem. I'm referring to toxic solo stans. If you're one of her chill solo stans, then don't come for me in the comments. I'm not talking about you. Anyway, I think it's pretty obvious that even if a fandom is toxic, that doesn't mean the artist is responsible for their fans and therefore the artist shouldn't be getting hate because of their own fans. But trust me, it's so easy to sometimes start disliking someone a bit because their toxic stans influence us negatively, and I think this is what happens with a lot of Keplians who are sick and tired of Bae's toxic stans. Don't get me wrong, there are unfortunately many Keplians who are OT8 stans and hate Bae. They're my number one enemy and I have spoken in Bae's defense many times on my channel, speaking against OT8 Keplians. But this time I have to speak about just how shitty Bae's stans can be. If any other Kepler member is given little to no lines, their stans would blame the company. But if Bae doesn't get lines, her stans instantly blame the other members, especially Daeyeon, because Daeyeon is literally the devil herself and she is responsible of every evil thing that happens in the world. At least this is what some Bae stans seem to think. Bae stans want Kepler to disband so bad. They even wanted to boycott Kepler on Queendom without voting for Kepler. They leaked the Queendom performances as an act of revenge since Bae got so little lines. They also try to make it seem as if the members are excluding Bae and they're bullying her. They always play the victim card. They're so passive-aggressive. They claim they're just speaking up to defend Bae. But no bestie, they don't just defend Bae, they attack the other girls left and right. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. I'm sorry, but you cannot be completely shitty towards people's biases and then act surprised when those people shit on your bias. Like I said, if the fans are trash you shouldn't hate on the idol, but some people are not mature enough and they do it anyway. So you know you're setting Bae up. You know you're making her receive hate. Toxic Bae stans are part of the problem and they're just as disgusting as Keplians who are OT8 and hate Bae. If you don't have the financial means, don't debut groups. I'm sick and tired of small and broke-ass companies debuting groups and basically ruining these poor people's dreams. Not even having the means to give them decent music videos and decent songs that don't sound as if they were made on GarageBand by a 12-year-old. If you're broke as fuck, then please don't debut anyone. It's not fair to them. I get it that these companies may have good intentions and hope for their groups to make it big, but it's not gonna happen if their MVs look like dancing performances because you don't even have the budget for a proper setting. Just spare those poor trainees the suffering of having this kind of career and don't waste their time. WM is fucking up Chaeyeon's career. Excuse me, where the fuck is she? She sometimes comes back from the dead and has some schedules here and there, mostly related to dancing, but what the fuck? The company is wasting her potential of gaining more fans and more fame by releasing music and promoting like an actual idol. WM had to be smart and should have debuted her in their new girl group, but all of those talented trainees left the company and now only Chaeyeon is left. With Oh My Girl reaching the end of their contract, it would have made so much sense debuting a new girl group, but they fucked everything up. Now they could at least debut Chaeyeon as a soloist, but they're taking forever and this is not doing her any favor. Months ago I was complaining about how Choi Yi-na should have just debuted already. I was saying how they were wasting her time and potential, and then, a few days after I complained about that in one of my videos, the company announced her solo debut. Maybe if I complain about Chaeyeon I will manifest the same thing happening to her. Maybe next week her solo debut will be announced. A girl can dream. gfriend stans hating on Lee Seraphim is the most pathetic thing ever. As you know, Big Hit and Source Music are debuting a new girl groups called Lee Seraphim, and of course some stans didn't take it well. They are hating on a group that hasn't even debuted yet and whose final lineup hasn't even been fully disclosed yet just because they're salty that their faves were disbanded. As if Lee Seraphim were responsible. As if the Lee Seraphim members went and personally disbanded gfriend with their own hands. Since gfriend had been around for a while, I assume most of their fans aren't exactly 10-year-olds. But why does it feel like the toxic part of their fandom is behaving like preschoolers, hating on some trainees who have yet to debut just because gfriend disbanded? This is a way of thinking I associate with literal 10-year-olds. But I know for sure most gfriend stans are not 10 and should know better. This shit is so pathetic. Thank God there are a lot of amazing gfriend stans out there that are not acting like total assholes. Luna are the only ones that would actually benefit from Queendom. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just thinking that Hyeon already has a long career and she's already well established in Korea. So I don't honestly see her popularity increasing that much at this point, especially because usually soloists are not given the same hype as groups. Then we have Brave girls that are already very talked about. Plus they're never gonna top rolling anyway. Kepler are already huge and probably have the most hype. WJSN's contract is unfortunately almost ending, and even if they won I don't think all of the members would necessarily resign. Last but not least, Vivas are already super huge because of the gfriend fame. In conclusion, the other contestants either don't need more fame or the fame they can get isn't really gonna change their situation that much. But with Luna is different. Their company always feels like it's on the verge of bankrupt and they never seem to really establish their name and career once for all. Them winning Queendom could really be a turning point and I think they would benefit from it much more than the others. That's not to say that the other artists don't deserve it though. Purple Kiss easily has the best girl group vocal line in 4th gen. It's great when you have a phenomenal vocalist in a group, but it's even better when you have two main vocalists like Go-eun and Swan and a lead vocalist like Chain who could be a main vocalist. I'm just speaking the truth. I honestly think there's not another 4th gen girl group whose vocal line is as strong, as versatile and as unique as Purple Kiss's. Swan, Go-eun and Chain easily have some of the best and most unique voices I've heard in K-pop. There are many 4th gen girl groups who definitely come very close to Purple Kiss's level, but I have yet to hear a vocal line like theirs. Woods and Sungwoo are the only ones who have actually benefited from being in X1. Sungwoo literally managed to save Victon's careers and made people finally recognize Victon's talents that had been overlooked for too long, while Woods literally managed to make a huge name for himself. He has always been a great soloist, but he, just like Victon, failed to be fully recognized by the general public. They have benefited from being in X1 a lot, but I can't say the same for the other members. Dahyun and Hongil are literally being sabotaged by their own company. MBK could have done so much more for their group RIE173, but they are barely promoted and keep on flying under the radar. Wooseok has been quite successful, but not as much as I would have hoped. Johan and I have also been quite successful, but to be honest I thought they were gonna be much more talked about as a group, considering Johan was X1 center and the group also has other members who had individual fan bases before debuting in WI. Gravity being under Starship would have definitely received so much attention anyway, even if Minhee and Youngjoon hadn't been in X1. After all, Gravity are Monster X Juniors and Starship is a big company, so I have no doubt they would have been big anyway. Eun-sung is nowhere to be seen. He is doing some things here and there, but why is it that his company promotes him so little? Then Dongpyo and Myra are doing fine, but it's not like the company was able to capitalize on their potential and on Dongpyo's fame. Junho and Drippin are quite successful, but coming from Woolim and having famous seniors, they would have received attention anyway. Not to mention Woolim sucks at promoting their groups and there's so much more they could be doing with Drippin. In conclusion, I think the only members whose careers had a turning point thanks to being in X1 are Woods and Sungwoo. The other members would have either been successful regardless, or they aren't getting the fame I would have expected because of poor management coming from the companies. Also, I know that X1 didn't last long and were not able to establish themselves, and this definitely didn't allow the members to fully gain popularity from X1 as a group, but it's interesting to see that some of the members like Sungwoo and Wood seem to flourish much more than the others. People overlook nmix's huge talents just because they dislike OO. Listen, you can hate and drag OO as much as you want, but this doesn't change the fact that nmix are literally some of the best dancers, some of the best vocalists and some of the best performers of the generation, and, in my modest opinion, some of you feel kinda threatened, and that's why the only thing you will mention in regards to nmix is how much you think their debut is crap, instead of talking about how strong they are as a group. Love Dive is such a perfect follow-up from 11. I couldn't end this video without talking about my ults. Starship could have easily tried to replicate 11's success by making I've Come Back with a song that had a similar concept and structure, but they didn't, giving us something totally different. But despite being different, Love Dive still feels very IVE, if you know what I mean. There's a risk in giving a group a comeback that feels very different from the debut. By doing so, you can easily fail at building a cohesive sound for the group. But Love Dive, despite being quite different from 11, still feels very IVE. I don't know how to explain it, but it does. It doesn't feel like a random song that any other group would have in their discography. Not to mention the concept is totally genius. A modern version of Cupid. Like, that's so cool and original. Let's not even talk about Royal, the B-side. Ray and Gaul totally shine with their self-composed rap parts. I love it that Starship allowed the girls to write their own lyrics. I love this freedom that they're giving the girls so early in their careers. All in all, I totally adore this comeback and I feel like it was such a perfect follow-up from 11. In conclusion, stan IVE and stream Love Dive. Okay besties, we have reached the end of the video. You might have agreed with some of the opinions and completely disagreed with others. Or maybe you disagreed with everything I said, and that's okay. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video and would like to see more content like this, then please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to give this video a like. Thank you again for watching. See you in the next video.